There was once a man named Samuel. He was born into a world that was bright and full of promise, but that light began to fade as he grew older. Samuel's life started with hope, but as he aged, the pain of loss became a constant companion. Samuel's parents were devout believers in God, always teaching him to trust in him, no matter how difficult life became. But Samuel, as a young man, found it hard to reconcile the idea of a loving God with the harsh realities of life. When Samuel was only 10, his father, the pillar of his life, passed away unexpectedly in a car accident. The loss was devastating. Samuel had always turned to his father for comfort and guidance, and now, with him gone, Samuel felt lost and abandoned. As he grew, his bitterness grew as well. He turned away from the faith he was raised with, struggling with anger toward God. How could a loving God allow such tragedy, he would ask himself. He pushed away anyone who tried to bring him back into the fold of faith, convinced that prayer and trust in God could not possibly bring back the people he had lost or ease the emptiness he felt. Years passed, and Samuel's life became a series of struggles. He dropped out of school, unable to see any purpose in working toward a future. He worked odd jobs, but never seemed to find a sense of fulfillment. He fell into deep depression, waking up each day just to go through the motions of existence, never truly living. He lost more friends and became distant from his family. His life seemed like a string of bad events that had no explanation. In his darkest moments, Samuel would look to the sky, screaming to God, demanding to know why he had allowed all of this pain. Why had God allowed him to be abandoned by the ones he loved? Why had his life been filled with suffering, with endless waves of misfortune? And yet, the silence from God was deafening. One rainy evening, Samuel reached a point where he couldn't bear it anymore. He sat in his small apartment, staring blankly at the window as the storm raged outside. His heart felt as though it was being crushed by an unbearable weight. He thought of ending it all, of finally putting an end to the pain. But something stopped him. It wasn't hope. It wasn't a reason to live. It was just a small, fragile thought. "I wonder if there is anything more to all of this," Samuel whispered to himself. "Maybe there is something beyond the pain. Maybe, just maybe, I've been wrong all this time." The next day, Samuel walked aimlessly down the street, his feet taking him to a small church he had passed by countless times before. On impulse, he walked inside. It was empty, save for a few scattered people sitting quietly, praying. The stillness of the place felt like a balm to his soul, even though he didn't believe in anything anymore. He knelt at the back of the church, unsure of what to do. And then something unexpected happened. A memory, buried deep within him, surfaced. It was his father's voice, soft but firm, telling him about the love of God. He had heard those words many times as a child, but they had never meant anything. Today they seemed different. They were no longer words spoken by someone else. They were words meant for him. With trembling hands, Samuel prayed for the first time in many years. He didn't know how to pray. He didn't know what to ask for, but he spoke from his heart, telling God of his pain, of his confusion, of the years of loss and bitterness. And then, almost as if on instinct, he asked for help. "God, if you are real, show me. I don't know if I can believe, but I need you now. Please help me find my way." Samuel sat in that church for hours, waiting, hoping for something. And in that stillness, in the silence, he began to feel something shift inside him. A gentle whisper, a presence that he couldn't explain. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. It wasn't an immediate change. The pain didn't vanish in an instant. But something inside him softened, and he found a glimmer of peace. The next few weeks were hard. The struggles of his life didn't disappear, but Samuel began to notice small signs, like unexpected kindness from strangers, a friend who reached out after years of silence, a sense of comfort in moments of hardship. Slowly, he started to rebuild. Samuel returned to church regularly, seeking understanding, not just out of obligation, but because he found a source of comfort there. One day, as he sat in the back of the church during a service, it hit him. The presence he had felt, the hope he had discovered, wasn't just a random coincidence. It was God reaching out to him, not to fix all his problems instantly, but to remind him that he wasn't alone, that there was meaning, even in the darkest of times. As Samuel reflected on his journey, he realized that the pain, the loss, and the suffering hadn't been meaningless. Through it all, God had never abandoned him. It wasn't the absence of pain that marked God's presence,